Hi, I'm Jessica, and when I'm not drinking all the coffee, watching Razorback sports, or hanging out with my family of boys, it's my passion to help elementary music teachers just like you find your unique teaching style. My goal with this podcast is to share helpful tips, strategies, and to give you the motivation you need to gain momentum in your teaching so you can continue being the music teacher rock star you already are. Hey guys, welcome back to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Peresta, and you are listening to episode 75. And this is going to be a solo episode with yours truly. And we're going to talk today about how your background makes you the teacher you are today. Now, what I mean by that is everybody grew up differently. We all have different experiences from our childhood through growing up and shaping us into the person we are today. And how does that make you a better teacher? How can you connect the dots between how you grew up to where you are today as a teacher, connecting it to your students' lives? So let's start off today by asking this question. How did you grow up? How did you grow up? I want you to take a few seconds and think about your childhood and think about the happy memories and let yourself go there with some of the sad or hard memories. You're like, why? Okay, this is like the most negative episode ever. Why are we doing this? Well, I want to let you know that I did the same thing with my students because it really helped me understand them a little bit better. When I thought about my childhood and being like, okay, not like specifically like when I was 9 years old, I experienced this pain. Maybe you do remember specific ages, but I just mean a roundabout, like how were you as a kid? It will help you relate to your students and how they are as kids. Instead of just seeing the problem, it will help you understand the underneath behind what they're going through. All right. So my childhood, I have memories of being a happy kid. I was a shy kid, actually. I was very introverted. I was very quiet. I felt like I was misunderstood a lot because I just had a hard time just approaching people or other kids, I should say, and making friends. I was just kind of shy. And I did really well in school. I really liked math a lot. I really obviously loved music. And so ironically, not so much my music class. I shared that in another episode about my music teacher just blew whistles in my ear and stuff. But I really enjoyed learning music. Okay. I love piano. But also at home, there was a lot of, I'm going to keep this very kind of surface level on purpose, but there was a lot of discord in my family and a lot of, it wasn't peaceful. I'll leave it at that. And so I felt like as I got older and then became a teacher, a lot of the experiences and the reason I had a heart and still do for working with kiddos, in Title I schools or who come from rough homes, I really felt like I had a heart for that because I know what it feels like and I know these kids are just having to deal with so much in their home life and then come to school and just pretend everything's okay. So let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about your childhood. How did you grow up? Think about all the experiences of growing up. So we already talked about, I felt like I was shy, right? Were you a shy kid? Were you extroverted? Did you have a lot of friends? Did you only have like one or two friends? Did you feel like you had a hard time connecting to other kids? Did you feel like you got, you were misunderstood and got labeled maybe as the weird kid with air quotes, or were you one of the popular kids? Or were you the smart kid? Were you the one everybody came and asked for help with their work because they felt like you just knew everything? Were you like one of those walking encyclopedia type of children? Was school hard for you? Did you struggle in some academic areas, or was it easy? Did you feel like school was not that hard? Think about those things. It will really help you to relate to your students. And we're going to go full circle and talk about how in a minute. But right now, we're just going to think about your childhood. You can even write down thoughts. And then we're going to, like I said, in a minute, we're going to go back to that list. Okay. Then after you think about how you were as a child, I want you to think about your family. How were you raised? Were you raised in a single parent home? Were your parents together? Were you raised by grandparents or an aunt or an uncle? Were you a single child? were an only child, I should say, not a single child, sorry. Were you an only child, or did you have siblings? Did you have a lot of siblings? Did you live with cousins, or did you just live with your parents? Did you grow up in a Christian home, or were you raised as another religion or no religion? Did you move around a lot as a child? Did you feel like you hopped from one elementary school to the other, to the other, to the other, like I did? Or did you stay at one school from kindergarten through forever? Were you in a large district, or did you grow up in a smaller school where you kind of knew every single person in your school and your town? All of these things will really help you to relate to your students, and we're going to talk about how. Okay, so after you've thought about your childhood and you've thought about all the things, maybe the positive memories that shaped you into the person you are today, and sad or hard memories, you've thought about the home you were raised in, you've thought about how was I raised as a child, did I move around, did I have cultural experiences that other people maybe don't have, was I shy or misunderstood, was I outgoing, how did it shape me into the person I am today? Now, here's what you're going to do. As the music teacher, we've talked about this so many times, you have a gajillion students, right? So obviously you can't go through every single child and do this exercise with them. But what I want you to do is pick one child from each of your classes you teach. Okay? Write their name down, and the child you choose is completely up to you. It can be a child you've really been struggling to connect with. It can be a child that you have been connecting with, but maybe you want to connect with them on a deeper level. Maybe you feel like your relationship's kind of surface level, and if you get to know them a little better, you'll really be able to connect with them. Maybe it's a child who's new to your school that you really want to get to know better. Maybe it's a child who, I don't know, they kind of have a hard time talking because maybe they have some kind of learning disability, or maybe they are the shy kid. So after you've written your name, for a name down from each class, what I want you to do is write down a way, maybe it's something you know about this child that you can connect with them about. For example, if you have 3 siblings and you grew up with 3 brothers or sisters or a combination of both, and you know this child has an equal number of brothers and sisters, then you can connect with them on that. You're finding connection points. Maybe you grew up in a single parent home and you know a child, one of the children you wrote down on your list, is currently growing up in a single parent home. You have that connection point. Maybe you notice school is kind of hard for one of these children, and you can explain to them your struggles you had maybe in math or reading or writing or whatever it was, or even music class, and you can connect with them on that. Maybe they're the smart kid, so everybody just assumes they know everything about everything, but they still have something they struggle with, so you can find the connection point on that. Does that make sense? Then what you do you don't just put it down on paper, then you strive to start connecting with this child based on what you've written down. It's not just going to be maybe one conversation and be like, hey, guess what? I have 3 siblings and so do you. Isn't that cool? And they're going to look at you like, what? Why? Why are we having this conversation? But bring it full circle and wrap it around and be like, hey, you know what? I noticed you have 2 brothers and a sister just like I do. That's awesome. So, hey, what do you like about having your brothers and sisters? And then they're going to probably open up to you. What do you not like the best? Oh, do you have to share a room? Oh, I had to do that too. Ugh, it's the worst, isn't it? When your brother leaves a mess all over the floor and they don't clean it up and then you get in trouble for it. Man, I know that's hard. And it just starts a conversation. And you're thinking, okay, yeah, well, I don't have time to have conversations with these kids. I don't see them very often. We did podcast episodes about that already. But what I want to say is, yes, you do. You can find these kiddos before school. They're sometimes, waiting outside their classroom to go in. You just have a super quick conversation. Maybe you're walking them to the bus and you have a conversation then. It doesn't have to be long. 5 minutes, 2 minutes even, just a quick connecting point conversation. It goes further than you think it does. Okay, now I want to shift gears and talk about how your background with music will help you connect with your students as well. But I want to mention episode 42 It talks about bringing your musicianship into your music room. So it goes in a lot more detail about that. And I want to mention 2 more episodes that'll help you around this conversation we're having today as well. So episode 35 is about forming a sense of community in your music classroom, and then how to build relationships with your students. Episode 61 goes into a lot more detail about how to form a relationship with your students. But today's episode, like I said, is all about thinking about your background and connection points you can have with your kiddos. So let's move into the conversation about your background with music and how that can help you communicate with your students. A lot of times kiddos, unless you let them know, don't know about you, which we talked about, like I said, in that episode about your musicianship, but they don't know about you as a musician. They don't know about your background with music. All they know is you're the music teacher and you teach them music. That's about it, right? They may know a little bit about you. Like they may know you have some children. They might know you're married. They might know that you, I don't know, like to drink coffee. But they don't know about you as a child and your path with music and how you got started. Why do you like music? Why did you want to become a music teacher in the first place? So the first thing you can share with your students is, how did you start music? Did you just go to music class like they do? Did you have private lessons? What made you want to pursue private lessons? What made you want to, pursue the instrument that you learned? How did you know you liked to sing? What teacher really inspired you to follow your music career? To have these conversations with your kids. What sparked your interest? Was there a certain day that sparked your interest with music? Was there a certain time you were sitting maybe in 4th grade music class and all of a sudden, bam, it hit you that you really could see yourself doing this with your life? Or was it just like a progression of things throughout, from maybe when you were 5 through high school that all of a sudden it just clicked. You wanted to become a music teacher. So I've shared this story before, but I'll share it again. One of my experiences is my 1st grade homeroom teacher had a piano in her classroom. I know that's very, very rare. And to this day, I'm really not understanding how she had a piano in there, but I'm very grateful because my dad just found this old kind of beat up piano that this church was giving away and just kind of set it in our home. Not one of us knew how to play. I take that back. He had taken some college piano classes just for fun, not just for fun. So I think he knew his way around a piano a little bit, but I never heard him play really. But anyways, I heard my 1st grade teacher play Jolly Old St. Nicholas on the piano. And I was it's an upright piano, so I was sitting behind it, wasn't even watching her hands, and went home and just put my backpack down, went over to the piano, and it's not like I sat down the very first try, I just played it. But after tinkering around a little bit, I figured out how to play Jolly Old St. Nicholas. And then from there, the progression of how I learned music just goes forward. And so I share that story with my students. That's what sparked my interest, was one teacher playing one song, and I went home and figured it out and realized, okay, I like this piano thing. I kind of want to keep doing it. And then from there, I, just went on and on and on. I wanted to be in band. I wanted to play clarinet. And then I was in orchestra. And then I, became a piano accompanist. And then I became a music teacher. All the things that led up to me being where I am today. And so just sharing those stories with your kids, but not just sharing your story with your kiddos, but also just letting them have those experiences in music. You never know. And that story just shows you, in itself, that you never know what student is just listening to you play some random piano song, and from there goes home, figures it out, and then from there they get in piano lessons, and from there they become a musician for their career. That's honestly sometimes how it happens. Don't forget about the seeds you're planting with your students. You're not always going to see these seeds grow into full plants until later in life, but you are planting more seeds than you even know. So share with your students, let's move on. Share with your students what your music classes were like. What did you like about them? What did you not like about them? What did you do in 3rd grade music if you're talking your 3rd grade class? What did you like about 3rd grade music? Because you can talk about likes and dislikes of music with your kiddos. Look at the national standards. There's all kinds of things in the national standards about talking to your kids about likes and dislikes. So talk about your music classes and let them know, I didn't like everything I did in there, and that's okay. But talk about how it still helped develop you as a musician. What made you want to go into band or orchestra or choir or private lessons in middle or high school? When you were leaving elementary school, especially talk to your fifth graders about this, what made you want to keep pursuing music as an elective when you could have chosen anything else? What was the reason you decided to keep going with music? And then why are you glad you did now that you're an adult? What made you want to be a music major when you could have chosen any other degree in college? Why did you want to be a music major? Let your students know. There is a whole lot of things you could have chosen to do, but why? What is the reason behind that? Why did you want to? And how did music help you with any of the areas we talked about earlier? How did music help you through those tough childhood moments you had? How did music help you get through it? How did music help you when you felt like you were misunderstood, or you were the shy kid, or you were looked past for different stuff, or you felt like you were judged? How did music help you when your siblings and you were not getting along? How did music help you when you grew up in a dysfunctional home? How did music help you get through it? Share those stories with your students so they know music is a real living and breathing thing. It's not just about coming to music class. It's not just about sitting there and singing a song. It's not just about playing the recorder, but they are experiencing music for a reason. So form those connecting points. Let them know your childhood, how it helps you relate to them, and then let them know about your background with music as a child and connect that back to them as well. And so I want you to know that the main thing is to show your students you understand them. Of course, you can't relate to every child's experience because you're one person, but you can try to learn about their lives, which will in turn help you to understand who they are. Connecting with your students truly goes a long way with classroom management and forming those relationships, which in turn allows you to teach music to your students more because they know who you are. They know you care, and therefore they want to learn from you. So I want you to listen to this episode and then let me know, how do you connect with your students? What are the connection points that you form in your classroom? What are the connection points from your childhood or you as a musician from 5 years old, 3 years old, all the way to today that you are connecting with your kiddos so they know that you were once a kid just like they are? You experience the same hardships, the same struggles, the same things that they are relating to today, although different, because let's be honest, when we were kids, technology is not what it is today, but that's a whole nother topic in itself. But you can relate to them as their age. You were once a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9, 10, 11, whatever other ages. So you get it. You were there. You've been there, done that. And they will truly get through childhood just like you did. So I hope this episode was helpful. You guys, I am just so grateful for all of you, and I am cheering you on as a music teacher each and every day. Have an amazing rest of your school day, rest of your school week, and I'll be back on here soon. Thank you so much for listening in to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, I would love for you to review the show and leave a rating on iTunes. To find out more about how I can help you gain momentum in your elementary music teaching career, head to thedomesticmusician.com, where you'll find free downloads, courses, the blog, and so much more. Continue teaching music and never doubt the impact you're making each and every day in the lives of your students.